Hello, my name is Nancy Woods, and I'm from Granada Hills, California. I have been a mandated reporter for the last 16 years for the district of school district. And before that, I was a mandated reporter as an emergency room nurse for 30 years. So I have been involved with doing the reports in two states, New York and California. Uh, And I want to explain to you, if you're going to make a report and you haven't made one before, you want to start with whatever you think is an abuse. It is not for the reporter to determine whether how extensive the abuse is or how um, much damage has been done, or to get into the story with the person that you think is abused. But as a mandated reporter, anything that seems or appears to be abuse is to be reported. The local agency, usually is a child abuse agency, and every city or county, or if it's not the city or county, you report it to the local police. If you want to know the laws and rules for mandated reporting, you should look up the law, and you can find it online for your local area. And then also, if you don't know, there is an abuse hotline that is national, and they can tell you what the local area requirements are. If you do have a child or a person under 18 years of age that seem to be experiencing some type of abuse, and when I say abuse, abuse can be physical, mental, um, sexual, uh, some states on emotional abuse also. Um, Most states require that if it's sexual abuse and the child is under 18 years old, that you involve the local police, because that is considered a crime. If the person has physical injuries that can be observed, that also is considered a crime. And if the child is under, and it has been committed by a family member within the home. Um, if the if you do make the report, you want to call and you want to know where does the child live. Be able to report where the child lives, how the name of the person that's doing the abusing, and how where they may be found. And it's quite important that the where the person is located at currently, if possible, can be given, because it's very difficult to follow through on the abuse if they don't know, if they can't find the person that did it. And even if you can't, you still will call and make the report, because the child and themselves, if you know where that person is, will be interviewed, the case will be looked into to make sure the child is currently all right. Also, when you making the report, you may not want to go too deep into the issue, because you don't want to traumatize the victim more. So that should be done by the person that is professional, that knows how to do the interview, to cause the less stress and less damage, mental damage to the child themselves. Also, when you reporting it, if you tell the child, it should be that you tell the agency. If the child knows you're telling the agency, a lot of times that would interfere with the investigation. If possible, you want to tell the agency, either without the child knowing it, or if the child knows it, the agency needs to be told before you contact anybody else. The child is able to contact. And as a reporter, you do not tell the family member. That's the agency goes to the family member. But the person making the report do not uh, uh, discuss it with the family.
Is there a form, or do you just kind of make up your own report?
Most agencies have an online form if it's in a large city. They do have an online form. And larger cities do have an anonymous way of reporting. So you can actually do a child abuse report and be anonymous. If you are a mandated reporter, then you're not remaining anonymous. But you can, if a neighbor is abusing the children, you can actually report it without giving your name. But when you become a mandated reporter, you do give your name because you may have a second interview with the person that's actually doing the interview. Do you have any questions about what you need to do? Would you like for me to go over step by step?
Yes. Say I a youth minister and somebody's come to me and said that, a child's come to me and said somebody's messing with me at home. They're hitting me. They drink and then they hit me in the head, and they yell and scream at me, and they lock me in a closet. Something, or just maybe something minor. Like when you say emotional abuse, I'm not sure of that. So here I am. I'm not familiar with what's going on. I don't know if this child is telling me the truth. What are my obligations?
There are emotional abuse where the person has actually threatened a child. Uh, an emotional abuse extreme ones would be like when there have been parents do the extreme where they put the gun to the child's head. He's actually not physically touching that child, but to put a gun to a child's head and tell them they're going to get shot, it's very traumatizing. And no child should have to live in that kind of fear of worrying whether they're going to get shot at any time. That would be emotional.
Okay, what would be a minor emotional?
The minor emotional is
hard to tell.
It's hard to tell. If you feel that the parent is constantly calling the child name, degrading the child, and the child is experiencing depression and needs help, and the parent is not giving the child that help, that can be emotional neglect.
Okay.
If the child needs medical care and doesn't seem to be getting it, that is that is physical neglect. So neglect is usually the other on the minor end of it.
Okay.
It's called neglect more so than abuse.
Okay.
When the child comes to you, the thing that you want to make sure of is to comfort the child, obtain as much information about his personal environment, but not necessarily the story. You want to know where he lives, what's the current phone number, the name of the parent, and just in conversation, if you can get that type of information, that would allow the investigator to follow up on how the child. If the child states that they are scared that they're going to be hurt if they go home, then that is usually a police call or an emergency child abuse agency call. And usually those children, sometimes they would tell you to allow the child to stay with you until they get there. And they will go to the home with the child.
Okay. And what about like if there's some molestation or a rape even, but it's not being done currently, it was done a year ago or other time, does that count?
Now, child abuse agencies only handle the in-family abuse. If it's done by a family member that is currently in the environment, then the child abuse agencies will usually deal with it. If it is a rape that has occurred by someone other than a family member, that's considered a crime, and and it's a police report that you're making,
Even if it was a year ago?
even if it was a year ago.
Okay. So the timeline doesn't matter. It doesn't have to be something that's happening currently.
It's up to the police whether it's a currently pressed charge. There are children that have been abused when they were younger, and they know their abuser, but they do not get around to telling it until they're in their teens. Now that abuser can be charged even if it's years later.
Okay. And if we have any questions, we can look on the abuse hotline, call the abuse
There is an
hotline.
abuse hotline, and there is the government has one, some guidelines online that you can follow. Most local agencies have their forms online, or they have a line where you can call and obtain information as far as what you would have to do for their neighborhood.
So what should we Google if we're looking?
Child abuse, and then put the name of the city.
Okay. Thank you so much. Thank you, Nancy Woods. Thank you.
You're welcome. My pleasure.